I want to start to break this one down with you, Schultze, because in a lot of ways, this game felt like it was similar to last week's game against UCLA. Both of them are 21-point wins. Both of them, your defense looks absolutely dominant, mostly from start to finish, save for a drive or two here and there. Your offense kind of inexplicably leaves points on the board a couple times, but for the most part, looks pretty good, and you get a good performance out of most of your best players. There's a lot to like about this formula if you could clean up some of the mistakes. And I think that early in the season, the mistakes were really glaring, and they were really shooting themselves in the foot. They were killing drives, and surely throwing interceptions in the red zone is a form of killing drives, but I also feel like Oregon has cleaned up a lot of the things that had ailed them early in the year, and now it's these individual large mistakes here and there that are really setting them back. I think about both these last two games. It could have been 35-0 at the half today.
Yeah.
It could have been 35-3 at the half against UCLA, if not for that pick six. So, there's so much to like about how the Ducks have been coming out of the gate in conference play, specifically in the first half, against, frankly, inferior opponents. And it's not to try to take anything away from UCLA or Michigan State, but Oregon's supposed to beat these guys up. And they did not cover the spread either game, but they came close. The 3 touchdown games against conference opponents, you'll take that any way you can get it. So I'm pleased with the way this Ducks team has it rolling. But next week, you get a whole different kind of test.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I mean, we can definitely spend a whole segment looking ahead to Ohio State
and we
next
will.
week. Yeah, because that is nice to have an extra day off after this little 6-day window of 2 games for Oregon, but that is really the true challenge to this point for Oregon of the season so far. But today, at least I saw, thankfully, their physicality showing up again. I remember Anthony Newman talking earlier this week about how he didn't see many missed tackles versus UCLA on the defensive end for Oregon. Didn't see that much today either. Really, another word, that I heard a lot this week, too, referring to Michigan State's offense and Aiden Childs.
Yep.
That seemed like Oregon was just on it. I mean, the defense led by Jordan Birch tonight, 2.5 sacks?
Yep.
I think I read you the stat before we started the postgame show. They had one quarterback hurry, only one, because they had 4 sacks.
Yeah.
So they got on Aiden Childs' butt so much
that
they didn't even have to worry about hurrying him. They just got him, and I think one of those sacks was probably to the backup, Tommy Schuster, as well. But really just the physicality up front, stoked to see that as Oregon now plays their second Big Ten game. Like I opened up the show with, I really, truly believe that they can fight in the trenches, and establishing the running game again with Jordan James. What was it, like 86 yards or something like that in the first quarter alone? Michigan State's supposed to be good against the run. This isn't a team like UCLA that doesn't have a defense for run. I'm shocked that Oregon ran this much on them, but there are some glaring inconsistencies with Dylan Gabriel that I would like to get to as well. But I'm sticking to the positive at the moment.
And we will get to those inconsistencies with Gabriel and some other issues that they certainly want to clean up before the Buckeyes come to town. But you mentioned Jordan James and the power run game, and that is an excellent segue to our secret score.
Ducks Game Day Secret Score.
The Ducks Game Day secret score is 166. That's 166. A career high in rushing yards for Jordan James tonight. A stellar first half, a great first quarter. But all you need to do is remember that number of 166 and listen in the 7 a.m. hour of Monday morning's Dirt and Sprague for that cue to call. And if you text in with that number 166, you have the chance to win the $100 gift card to Laurelhurst Market. It's more than just your friendly neighborhood steakhouse. Make your reservation today at laurelhurstmarket.com. Jordan James has been, I feel like, on the verge of a breakout for a lot of this season. And early on, especially against Idaho and against Boise, it felt like he had a couple games where he was almost tripping over his own feet. And his yards per carry were really solid. His overall stat lines were really solid. He was still getting his touchdowns, but he wasn't breaking any of these long runs. And that all changed today. And it felt like a dam broke, for lack of a better term. But he got the blocks he needed early up front from the big boys, and then he powered through, around, over people. It just, every which way. There were times today he was punishing guys from the secondary who were trying to tackle him. There were times where he was beating people to the edge. He did it every way he needed to, and he ripped off a number of long runs, including a 41-yarder. So Jordan James, just I think you could make a lot of cases for a number of players today, but he seemed to be the spark early, especially when you left points on the board throwing the ball. They got to a point kind of in the middle second quarter, third quarter there where they're like, you know what? Who's going to win this game on offense? This guy.
Yeah, the name of the game for Oregon, at least in the first half, seems to be chunk plays. I'm thinking of that 41-yard run by Jordan James in the first quarter. I think Terrence Ferguson had like a 61-yard catch with a bunch of yak, and I can get into that later. But the chunk plays really establishing Oregon's offense early. And Jordan James, I love that you put it, that basically any which way that he was able to run around or over or on top of. I mean, you literally saw every Madden or NCAA college football move that a running back does on the field tonight. You saw the stiff arms, you saw jumping over guys, you saw diving under. I mean, it's obvious that he is an NFL talent, and after tonight, I wouldn't be surprised. He's probably not going to vault to the top of the Heisman, but 166 yards against a team that usually runs over you on the defensive side of the ball running wise, like, that's something to look at. And I know Michigan State's just on and off this year, but Oregon really stamped them out totally. They averaged, 22 points? Oregon did not give Michigan State a hope tonight, and one of the reasons was those chunk plays.
Yeah, and you know, I noted on the television broadcast that the announcers were saying that throughout the week in their prep, in talking to coaches, they kept saying that this Michigan defensive front is going to be the best they've seen all season. And I don't think that the coaches are just blowing smoke. I think that when they're asked in these meetings, they genuinely try to come up with what are going to be the biggest challenges for our team. And the fact that they were absolutely able to just handle the Spartans up front and allow the run game to set the tone offensively was outstanding. So hats off to Jordan James for a career high 166 yards. And just an outstanding performance from number 20.
Did you see Kenyon Barner's tweet in the first half?
No, I didn't.
Former Duck, he's like, LaMichael's up high on the all-time Oregon single-game rushing yard performances as well. But Kenyon Barner said, looks like Jordan James is going to break my record of like 320-some yards. Unfortunately, they didn't get to run that much. But in the first half, it did seem like Jordan James was going to break that all-time record.
You know what? I was at that Kenyon Barner game.
Were you?
It was at the Coliseum in LA against USC. He had a 5-touchdown performance against a then Lane Kiffin coached USC Trojans team. I want to say the final was like 62-51 or something. It was just an absolute track meet, and Barner with 300 plus that day. It was pretty special. By the way, the Vancouver 4 text line pointing out to us that it was Whittington that jumped over the guy, not James.
Oh, thank you.
And maybe that's fair, but I did see James lay some hat a couple times. There was some poor freshman safety that got in his way once in the first quarter and again in the second quarter, and Jordan James was running through him. The other thing I think happens with these guys, you talk about him like crawling up the draft board. I know Bucky didn't get drafted very high, but I think pro teams start to see what your personnel can do at the next level, and they think maybe they have the next guy who could do that too. So I think what Bucky's doing in the NFL right now could be a very positive thing for Jordan James, and definitely tonight's game from Jordan helps vault his status a little bit.